Welcome to Hoops and Headsets. This is episode 6. We're now going to jump into our final installment of our EuroLeague Women's Final 6 preview. Today we are going to have a look at Fenerbahce, once again joined by Shona. Shona, thank you for all of your efforts in the first 5 episodes. We're now at episode 6. We'll wrap up our preview here. And we've kind of left one of the biggest names in women's basketball to last, Fenerbahce. And the first question is an interesting one because we can take it in lots of directions. Is this the best Fenerbahce team we have seen in recent years?
I mean, statistically looking at the roster, I guess we can say that. I really like the team that they had a couple of years ago when Coach Marino won it with them. Like that final, there was no one who was going to even come close to beating Fenerbahce. And, we've seen kind of hiccups throughout the year. I think they've pulled off wins, but it hasn't always been easy. They've had to come up with some big time plays at the end of the game to get the win. And, obviously they're heading into the game with 1 loss on the season. So clearly they've had a good season. I'm not questioning that, but they've had a lot of really, really close games.
Yeah, they really have. It hasn't been plain sailing, and they've definitely had some weaknesses shown. I think when you look on paper, you look at it, and once again, they just kind of bring together a who's who of phenomenal players, right? This is a fantasy roster that every year Fenerbahce bring together. And that's kind of where this question came from for me, was going year by year. When you go on video games and you can play the 93 Chicago Bulls against the 95 Chicago Bulls, and you've got MJ playing MJ and stuff like that. And I was kind of looking at it from that perspective. And some of the matchups, it'd be interesting to get your views on this. So the 22-23 season, so this was the championship team who won it in Praha with Stewie. Van der Sloot was playing, okay? Van der Sloot or Almo, where are you going?
Ooh. I mean,
I'm not going to give you easy questions. That's why I said this one's taking us sideways here. And this is why I didn't give you a heads up as well. This is why I didn't give you any of this.
That's a good one. So I feel like every time you kind of, anytime there's a little bit of negativity towards Alamond, she responds in a really positive way.
Okay.
Was it like the photo when they announced Stewie and she wasn't in like the starting 5, like the possibles. So they're not playing with a point guard, and then she had like 11 assists the next day in her EuroLeague game. So you know what? I still think Julie Alamond is in her prime, and I'm gonna go with her, even though I'm a big Slutie fan, but I gotta go with Julie Alamond.
Exactly the same. It would be, my response would be exactly the same. I think this might be the kind of best season that we've seen from Alamont. She was MVP in
and healthy
her group of the World Cup qualifiers, right? I think she was MVP, right? I think she's stepped up in so many ways. And I think she is the exact point guard that Fenerbahce need.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's not it's all about me. I need to create for me. It's no, I will get you where you want the ball, when you want the ball. Yep. She's that kind of player, and I'm on board with that one. Okay, next one for you. Same year. Okay, so that championship, first ever EuroLeague Women's Championship for Fenerbahce. So that kind of makes it special in its own right. The player I'm going to pick out is Jagopova. Okay, against Gabby. Are you having Yaga or are you having Gabby? Slightly different players, but I've had to mix them around a bit to make it match up properly.
Jagopova from 22-23? Not Jagopova now. Okay.
Yeah. It's not easy. I knew this was going to get you.
I think I'm going to have to go with Gabby Williams because I live in France and I don't want people to egg my house.
Okay,
no,
diplomatic.
I mean, not
like
just
it.
that,
You're more likely to bump into Gabby as well than maybe Alina. So yeah.
Like when Gabby Williams is locked in.
Yep.
I'm a big fan. I mean, she was Defensive Player of the Year with Chaperon a few years ago when they won. Like she really makes her team better no matter where she is. And she's proven that time and time again. And have I seen her kind of relax in certain parts of certain games? Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they need her, she steps up and the teams that she plays on win. And I think that's, a big, big credit to how talented she is.
Yeah,
What's your choice?
I'm same vote on this one. For
Okay.
me, Yagopova can be one of the most exciting players to watch play the game. No two ways about it. She plays with sometimes just bonkers mindset of how she's running the game. She'll run and pull up for transition threes or
Right.
an unbelievable pass. But you look at that kind of that turnover assist ratio, it's a little bit scary at times. And yes, sometimes it looks amazing, but sometimes it's a bit iffy. Whereas Gabby, for me, is consistent. Yeah, there's the odd game where
Yeah.
it's a little bit quieter. But one thing defensively, she's locked in. It's like a personal vendetta every defensive matchup she's got. She's
Yep.
fully trying to dominate that. So, yeah, I think I'm with Gabby on this one. Okay, next one. Same team again. So we're 22-23. I think this one might be difficult, okay? So it's Satu Sabali or Ileana Rupert. Yeah, tough, right? That's why I was saying, this is why I was going through it, going, is this a special year this year? And then I went back to 22-23 and I'm like, man, that was a stacked roster as well.
Oh man. I think Oh, that's really hard because I think Ileana Rupert is having one of the best seasons that
Mm-hmm.
she's ever had in EuroLeague Women.
Yep.
And statistically, yeah, it's proven, but it's also just watching her, you can tell how much she has elevated her game.
Yep.
And I think she's a lot more consistent than she has been in the last couple of years, and that comes with growth. Um, so God, it's so hard because Satu Sabali, if she's healthy,
Is an absolute monster of a player. Yeah.
oh
Absolute
my,
monster of a
how do
player.
you stop her? Not quite the same position, but
Yeah.
oh, big fan if she can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of disappointing that we haven't seen her, play in Europe in the last couple of years. And obviously she'll be on that team with Germany. And maybe I'll change my answer after I see her play
After
in
the
the
World
World
Cup.
Cup.
Yeah. That
But
would be good.
right now, I think you have to give the respect to Liana Rupert because she was good before, but she has elevated her game to another level this year, in my opinion.
I think where my thought process is on this one is looking at the 22-23 Satu. She was at a similar kind of career stage as Rupert is this year, and I feel Ileana Rupert is closer to the finished product this year than Satu was back then.
Yeah,
And that's kind of why I go with Ileana. If you took Satu like her level now and healthy now,
yeah.
I might go with Satu above Ileana, but at that season, I think there was still development to come from Satu. There was still an understanding of the game that she hadn't
Hmm.
quite got yet. Um, so I think I'm the same as you on this one, Rupert again. Okay, last one I've got for you. Fee Collier, and you can have your pick of the other one, either Stewie or Emma Messerman from this season's team. That again, and this is the other thing. You kind of sometimes forget that Fee was in that roster. What a roster they had in 22-23.
Crazy.
Yeah. Because obviously on top of that, they had Messerman, they had Stewie in that 22-23 team as well. And yeah, bonkers.
I'm gonna go with Emma because I can't comment on Stewie. We haven't seen her play
Yeah,
yet
that's
this
true.
year.
That's true.
She hasn't played in Europe in a few years now,
Yep.
so I can't. Fee, I'm going with Emma because for years now I've been saying I think she's one or if not the best women's player in the game, and she proves it every season. She proves it every FIBA competition when she gets together with Belgium. And I don't know how she continues to maintain the level that she plays at year in and year
Mm.
out. And I gotta go with Emma.
Now, Full House, I completely agree with you. I fight the
Okay.
good fight for Emma on socials when people are going, oh, this player's the GOAT. I'm like, no, you only watch the W. You don't watch outside of the W. If you watched outside of the W, you'd see how good Messerman is. You know, she is schooling very good W players week in, week out in EuroLeague Women's. And like you say, it's not even the level, it's how long she has played and delivered domestically, internationally, you know, European competitions for club, every level that she plays at, and whatever team it is, she is intrinsic to any chance of that team winning anything. So like the final six this year, if Emma has a bad week, Fenerbahce don't win this. I'm sorry, they just don't. And I wouldn't say that looking down their roster now. That's the only player I'd say that about. I think any other player you could potentially say, yeah, they can get a bad week and other people could maybe pick up the slack. I don't think they get away with Emma having a bad week.
I have never seen Emma have a bad week. I will say last year at the final six, I thought she looked tired. I
Yes.
thought she looked
Yep.
exhausted.
Agreed.
And she still
I
put up
think that's part
numbers,
of the reason they recruited so heavily in the front court this year.
So I think but I have never seen Emma. I've seen her have a slow quarter or a half, but never even a full game where she's had a bad game in years and years and years. So you kind of have to go with her in my opinion. If she can stay healthy and they can kind of limit her minutes in the domestic league heading into the final six, which I hope they will do, and I'm sure they will
I
do.
imagine they would.
Coach Miguel's, he's great, so it's going to be a focus. I'm going to go with Emma. For years now, I've been saying she's the best player, and she's by far the best player in Europe, in my opinion.
Completely agree. Final kind of sub question on this one. Looking at this year's Fenerbahce roster, obviously us Europeans, we hear so much from American fans talking about how brilliant the W is. How competitive and how far and where would you see this Fenerbahce team if they entered the W this year?
Can we ask our colleague Kristen Mann this question?
Should we bob her a WhatsApp quickly? Yeah.
I think she's flying right now, so she's not going to answer us. Oh man, I think they could compete.
100%. I think they could
they
go all the way. I think they'd be deep in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this
under Coach Mendes as well. Take Coach Mendes with them. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, the offense, kind of their systems that they would run, they would probably frustrate some WNBA teams for sure. They have enough of their superstar who also have WNBA talent and have played in the league, so they kind of know the physicality, what to expect of the type of basketball. So I really think this Fenerbahce team, I think they could give, a few WNBA teams a run for their money.
Yeah, 100%. I truly believe they could go deep into the playoffs. They have real quality in that team. I think the only issue they might have is they might be a little bit light in some areas with regards to impact players. So like at the point guard, Chaka and Onar can do a job, but they're not going to be impactful in the W. So you're putting a lot of minutes through Almond, or you're bringing someone that isn't necessarily comfortable on ball like McBride to the point, which would be problematic. But I think overall, looking at that roster, they should be able to beat an awful lot of the W teams and push themselves deep into the postseason. And that one is for any of our American friends that have tuned in and, want to have a knock at European basketball. We're happy to go toe-to-toe. Okay, second thing to look at. And it's not surprising, but it obviously grabbed a huge number of headlines around the world. Stewie's re-signing at Fenerbahce. Only coming in for the final six. I think she'll be effectively a Fenerbahce player for a couple of weeks and then head back to rejoin. Is she? I think she's still on contract to Liberty. It's all over the place at the moment, the W, so God knows.
She's a free agent.
She's technically a free agent, but she's New York through and through, right? But so she'll be in Fenerbahce colours for a couple of weeks. How will Stewie's arrival impact Fenerbahce?
I mean, a player like Stewie coming in to any team is only going to benefit you. what I'm okay with is the fact that she has played for this club before. They're not just
Mhm.
going and picking a
Mhm.
random WNBA superstar who's never played in Europe.
Yep.
They're not doing that. They're going after one of the best players in the world, one of the best players in the WNBA, one of the best players on Team USA, and someone who has European professional basketball experience.
Well, who won them
So,
their first
yes.
ever EuroLeague Women's and was, MVP in that final, 35 points, 6 rebounds. She has a emotional, historic tie to this club.
Yeah. She does. And, I don't think she would have said yes to any other team other than Fenerbahce because she has that connection
Mhm.
to them. And I mean, they were almost unbeatable before. And now I don't know if is there a word to be more unbeatable. But they do play big minutes. Some of their players play really, really big minutes. And, 2 games in 3 days can be tough to manage load. And I think, not that she's really going to be a rotation player, but it's just, you're going to have fresher legs. Kayla's going to be fresher. Gabby's going to be a little bit fresher. uh, you can put her in at the 4. Like we said, I thought Emma Messiman looked really, really dead last year at the final 6,
Yep.
and you'll have a rotation. But Stewie can also play like 1 through 5. So whoever needs a break, she's going to be there. And obviously she's going to be refreshed coming off of, handling some like body issues, but she has rehab. She's ready to go. And I like it. Do I think it's unfair? Yes, because no other team can do that. No other team can afford that.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's someone who has been in Europe
Yeah.
multiple years, not like a one time she was in Fenerbahce. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
She has played multiple years in Europe. She's already established herself here. I think what it's great for? It's great for people like us and the fans because you get to watch one of the best players in the world
Yeah,
come to
definitely.
Europe and play.
Yeah, 100%. And, if it is going to be 10,500 people in Zaragoza, 10,500 people are going to get to see Stewie play who probably wouldn't get an opportunity otherwise.
Exactly.
So there's huge upside. It gets huge attention around
Yes.
the world. And it does say to people who don't get European basketball, this is legitimate competition. This isn't low level. This is big money, highly
Right.
professional, elite level basketball. It isn't a sideshow to the W. It is a competition that can
Mhm.
absolutely, draw the best talent in the world. Just that in that, you kind of brought up a question in my head. You said, she's not going to be like a rotational player. Are you starting Stewie?
Well, I know I'm not taking out Allemande. Um,
Yeah, I'm not willing the social media storm from that. That's for sure.
um,
Just from
em
me. Just from me alone. I'll go after you if you do that, I tell you.
um,
It's that.
I mean, I don't think you have to because I don't think she necessarily needs to start and is going to tell them, oh, I need to start. I have to start. They've had their same starting 5 all season long. They go with Allemande, Kayla, Gabby, and then Illy and Emma. So I don't think you have to change that. They've played together all season. Um, they've had some injury issues. I think the only thing is we know that Ileana Rupert was injured. She wasn't with France,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
She is back. She is practicing. If you want her to maybe be on a little bit more time limit constraints, maybe you would then go ahead and start Stewie. I don't necessarily think she has to come in because I don't think she has an ego like that either. Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
but
No, for me, I'm not starting her.
yeah,
I'm almost. She's our what's it called? Our second parachute. Do you know what I mean? She's the
right.
emergency one. So I play my starting 5. We play like we have all season. If
Yeah.
things aren't going our way, I pull the ripcord and out comes Stewie flying onto the court with her cape and see if she can change the game for us. I
Yeah.
don't, yeah, they've not been perfect all season, but they are very good and they're very good at what they do this year.
Yeah.
They are a unit that works well together. So I don't think I'd mess up my starting 5 the first 6-7 minutes of the game. I'd give my 5 that have been with me all year the chance to blow
Mm-hmm.
the game open before it even needs to be discussed,
Yeah.
With that in mind, if, and I think you're right, Messerman and Rupert have been playing nearly 30 minutes a game. They probably won't have been doing that domestically, but within EuroLeague Women's, they've been doing it. There are minutes there, clearly, that you can send Stewie's way, because that's primarily where she'll play.
Mm-hmm.
They'll put her in the 4 or the 5. Potentially, like you say, if you wanted to go super big, you could have her at
Yep.
the 3. She'd happily step in for Gabby, maybe. How does that affect those front court players, though? Because and again, this is no slight on Kayla. Kayla McBride is unreal. She's a wonderful human being and an even better basketball player. But they kind of did a similar thing last year and parachuted
Mm-hmm.
McBride in kind of for the final 6. And I felt it kind of knocked them a little bit. It disrupted them and knocked them off their flow, and their rotations obviously had to change to give them minutes. How are the front court players going to feel? Could it knock them off their stride, Stewie trying to slot in?
I don't think so, because I think Emma and Ileana Rupert are all about, what's best for the team. And I don't think, they're going to be offended having to give up some of their minutes. If anything, I think that they would appreciate a couple extra minutes rest on the bench
Yep.
throughout the course of a 40-minute game. And again, Ileana Rupert, a little bit banged up right now. She's been out for about a month. So, I think this couldn't come at a better time for them. And, like we've talked about, would I put her in the starting lineup? No, I don't think so. But I think, as the game goes on and if she's doing well, you keep her on. If someone needs a break, you take that person out. It just adds to an already super talented team, but also a really experienced, and a team that just wants to win. And I don't think it's necessarily going to affect them negatively.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the only concern I had was seeing, and again, I might have completely misread it. I think there was lots of undercurrents within that roster
Mm-hmm.
at the end of last year anyway. Seeing how they were, the dynamics at the awards ceremony alone kind of unveiled an awful lot about how things were going for them as a unit last year. So I think it was more to it than just Kayla coming in
Yeah.
to disrupt things. You said before kind of this term of it's unfair. Clearly it's within the regulations. They got Stewie signed nice and early. She just didn't suit up, didn't even make it to Turkey in fact, she might not even head over, right? They might just fly her into Zaragoza directly. I don't know. Do you think there should be regulations in some other way? Maybe not a time frame that you can just kind of, because they basically parked a player, right? They signed her in time and parked
Yeah.
her until they've needed her. Do we need to, do you think FIBA should look at regulations to change that so it can't happen going forward? Because, as a neutral and someone that watches games every single week, I don't want to see people kind of not tanking, but sandbagging all the way there and then going, right, here's all our money. We're going to bring an all-star 5 in, and the team that got us here, we're going to change that. That's not healthy.
Yeah. So I think, with the new format that we've seen for a couple of years now with EuroLeague, they've kind of already done that to try and prevent that. So you have the group phase and then the second group phase. And I think they went to that to prevent that. Because before, it's true, you didn't see players, some of these WNBA superstars arrive until
Post-Christmas,
January,
right?
February. And, so those teams were kind of just coasting by, and then they would be playing in the finals. So I do think that FIBA has already addressed that issue. And I think it works. I mean, it makes
100%.
the EuroLeague so exciting. Like,
you
from
can't
game
lose
day
a game
one.
in the You can't lose first round games now,
right?
You just can't. So you have to be of a level now straight away. The first round is so much more electrifying than it was.
Yeah. So I really do think that they have already addressed the issue, and I think it makes the competition better. For me, again, I'm just jealous. And if I was another club, I would just be jealous that we don't have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
money to do that. But Fenerbahce have the money to do it. These women are getting paid. I think it's awesome. I think they deserve it.
Hmm.
And, they did it. Well, rumor has it that they, signed her in January, February. They just announced it a little bit later to us, right? So
Yeah.
they did everything within the time frame. And again, you know, I'm jealous. I wish, the clubs that I've played for could do something like that.
Yep.
And again, I mean, people are going to be tuning in to watch her
Yeah, yeah.
play, one
100%.
in person, but two also on TV around the world in the US.
Yeah.
And I think just, having that kind of visibility helps the women's game here in Europe and it benefits, FIBA and the EuroLeague competition. So I'm okay with it. I'm
Yeah,
okay
it's
with it because she has played here before as well.
okay. So if they had just if teams do start just parachuting players in for the final six, have no tie to the club, never played in Europe before, then
Okay.
there might be a problem.
Then I think I would have more of a problem with it.
Okay.
And then, I don't know how I would. What do you do? Do you bring in like a salary cap? So, or
Yeah, I
you
don't think
can't,
that's
your
going to
budget,
happen.
you can't,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know how to handle it, but I'm okay with the way that it's happened right now.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Do you know what? I'm Jekyll and Hyde. I'm a split personality on again. The arguments you make, I'm 100% on board with. The development of European women's basketball has been phenomenal. Like you said in a previous episode, would we have seen this final 5, 6, 7 years ago? No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't see 11,000 people or close to
Mm.
11,000 people watching that. We just wouldn't, no matter where it was. Um, so those kind of moves, those kind of big names coming in bring more attention, more likely for sponsors to be interested because social media coverage goes up. Everyone loves the metrics. All those things go in the right direction. And like you say, to a certain degree, we need to get the players paid what the level that's commensurate with how flipping good they are at basketball. And they haven't been for a long time,
Yeah.
and that trickle down will happen. Don't get me wrong, Stewie's getting a lovely payday. She's getting an absolutely lovely payday for this couple of weeks in Zaragoza. But that will trickle down. That
Hmm.
is the economics of pro sports. If the top players are getting paid so much, everyone gets kind of dragged up a little bit with that. But then the other side of me kicks in and goes, the purity of competition, it's a season-long competition. You can't, it reduces the integrity of the competition if you can just bring players in. Because
Yeah.
who says you can't bring 7 players in then and sign them all in January and announce them now? And this isn't the team that's played the whole season. The entire team's changed up.
Yeah.
That's the problem you have. So I don't know how you can do it. I don't think the salary cap works. And again, that's kind of for me a backward step on the progression of getting female athletes paid what they should be paid.
A
But is
roster
it
limit?
yeah, or do you, you're only allowed so many players across the season, or
Yeah.
is it anyone that plays in the final 6 has to have played so many games
Yeah.
already in EuroLeague Women? So if you set it at 4, then it means they've had to play in the second round. They've had to at least play one game in the second round and then play
Hmm.
play-ins or something like that. I don't
Hmm.
know. I'm not dead set it has to change. I'd be interested to understand and kind of explore some of the implications if you did change it. And like I say, we don't want to reduce the chances of having the best players in the world play in our competition. And maybe by bringing in these regulations, that's what we ultimately do. We reduce the chances of players wanting to come over to Europe and play basketball. And I think that would be a backward step if that was the ultimate outcome.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, so that wraps up our episode for today. We've gone on. I did have a third question, but we have talked beyond belief today. We've jumped in. I think it was the matchups that got us going a bit too early. Van der Sloot or Alamon and all of that that got us talking. So we'll have to save that other question maybe for another episode. Okay, thank you so much, Shona. Really appreciate you coming on board and giving us all your thoughts on Fenerbahce and across all of our first 6 episodes. Hopefully you've all enjoyed tuning in, listening or watching our first 6 episodes. Do make sure you subscribe. We will be back with more episodes in coming weeks. We're not going to be one of these that do them every week, because sometimes you just end up with podcasts that talk about nothing because nothing's happened that week, but they feel they have to do one. We'll come back as and when there's stuff to talk about. Maybe we'll do one when we have the World Cup draw, potentially, or we'll do one post the final 6. That's the kind of podcast we're going to have. When there's something exciting or interesting for us to get our teeth into, we'll come back and bring you episodes. But please do feel free to message us, drop comments on any of our socials. We are here to join in that debate and spark that debate. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.